We are reading Kintsugi Walnut, and we have gotten to the fifth section. My journal from Highlands, North Carolina, January 2009 to May 2009. Why am I here? To ask important questions, to listen to answers, to mix it up, to represent with great intention my need for human equality. When I first arrived at the mountain, I spoke in more of an open stream of thoughts, to filter my thoughts and actions in a way that benefits and does not hurt others and society. Meanwhile, questioning the system of inequality that exists even within the mountain social systems and listening to answers I hear. I am here for the wild side of things, the trees, the elements. So when I find myself questioning the roles of equality here, or the lack of equality among different classes and roles of people, I find myself mixing it up and struggling with unfair distribution of power. I need to remember my stillness. I need to recall the quote of George Fox, walk cheerfully over the world answering that of everyone. And to not forget myself and be respectful and never scream in the crowd if they are all screaming, but instead to wait strategically, hoping to elicit or find, seeking a silence, and in all and in myself. And to remember the trees and write my requests, but to know that I will never be respected if I do not respect, and that to sit something out for the sanctity of me, then by all means, but I have a strength for fighting. I must rechannel that into love, compassion, and respecting others. And by all means, I can raise questions and stir it up. But I should not forget my intention, justice, and act accordingly. I will at the same time commend, not discourage myself for standing up against feeling pacified. I am noble person for screaming, but it would be better as understanding, clear conflict resolution. My intention is not always most always good, but it means my communication is harsh and coarse, unpleasant and hurtful. So here I pray that from this point forward I will be more guarded, thoughtful and intentional. It is 3. Yes, I can. It is 3:15 and I am glad to have this mindset. Some folks wake up at 3 ready to drink tonics and extra gin tonics and extra Valiums, and send themselves back to sleep. I wake at this hour in my sleep revving with inspiration. Yesterday, me and the other women who were here at CeeLo, a long car journey for a short time in the sacred and peaceful river valley. I remember thinking we each got something beneficial out of it. Though 15 minutes from CeeLo, I was worried I had drugged people along to the trip that we might never return to the mountain. Oh shit, I am happy. I am happy as a black woman orgasm in the vagina monologues. I am as happy as a cow that we found in CeeLo and wanted to breastfeed on one of the women I work with. I am happy as my roommate of yesterday who would not tolerate my midnight moaning, who might work at Camp CeeLo next year. I'm happy as the other light sleeper, a wonderful woman who is now sleeping snug in her bed, and I am happy as a river valley that sleeps so far away, and as the Clinch and the Holston, which always will have a place in my heart. And I am happy. My heart says, yes, we can, just like Obama's little engine that could. Or my car always seems to make it home. So tomorrow is my mentor meeting. The mentor who I told I wanted to stay here at the mountain, but when I was getting sick with a cold and did not know why I was feeling so lousy. I did not know if I could possibly stay here, and I got horribly withdrawn, and people were concerned for me, and so were people at home, and I called Mom the other saying I feel horrible and not being able to explain it. But now I have a sore throat and I feel much better in just knowing why I feel so bad in the first place. To add, I became so renewed at Silo. When I stuck my hand in the cold tow river, something inside of me became refreshed. So since I have my mentor meeting tomorrow, I am thinking I might go with my original story and saying I'd like to spell longer than originally agreed on. Stay here for a spell longer than originally agreed on. But that does arise some concerns in my mind, and I'm not sure how needed I am here. I know they want me now, but I might outstay my welcome. Not be It would not be good. I'm thinking of the clarity of understanding the issues of how hard it was for the others when my mood became withdrawn. I am not I do not know when or how this will happen again. I do not want them to extend my stay if they don't really mean it. Intimidated to ask, and I don't know how I would stay or where physically I might stay, since they say people live in different places in more active summertime, and in the more active summertime, my house is most likely occupied then. But this is a virgin for oak forest with wonderful people living here. So what is it to stop me from at least trying to put forward my best face? And if they say I may not, perhaps it is for the best, because in my humble 3 a.m. judgment, I can do anything I set my mind to doing. I am 26. Sections of my life are missing from my resume. Lately, I have felt my years are not fully recognized and valued, especially here where not everyone knows my long story. Sometimes it is easier to be in a huge, largely Republican metropolitan area with sprinkling of Democrats in a place that is proclaimed to be more ideal. I was born in a tobacco farm in Southwest Virginia, a little girl running barefoot through the garden rows. I learned a lot by the feel of the soil under me. We used an outhouse until we moved to the city of Bristol, Tennessee. I wanted to mention that the Bright Minds, where I am from, the original Appalachian Peace Education Center, and Appalachian Sustainable Development, seem to be the advanced in their knowledge of societal issues more than I can think of. I came here to the mountain because I wanted to know my place in the world. I break down too much emotionally to be a good leader. I do not want to be a hindrance to the situation. Neither do I want to believe that my barefoot wandering is less valuable than your school learning. At home, I waited for the mountain, itching to be here. I came here, itching for time to write. Today, with time allotted to write, I wrote, and now I want to share my writing with my dad, Felicia, and everyone else I know. I am itching to email, but the internet is down and I'm supposed to be writing. Sometimes I ramble on the page, hoping good will come from it. Sometimes it does, other times it doesn't. Commenting, commend, Contentment is a balancing act and walking between desire and boredom. I am finding a routine here. For some points, that is good. It means I am less in agony over transition. For other points, it is bad. It means the world is not covered by the fresh sheet of snow or a white sheet of paper. For me, walk over to fill with my writing. Symbolism aside, it means I am developing habits. It means I am hurting others because I am choosing to be solitary more than they might prefer, or because I am making strange sounds when I sleep. One thing is guaranteed here. If I can make myself get outside, if I can stir myself or go for a walk or sit at Meditation Rock, I can find honesty and newness in my surroundings every time. The forest around me is the reason for being here. Now, I am not hardcore. I am no rock climber. I don't know much about my surroundings, though I would like to learn, but it is pretty. It is beautiful here. It is ancient. And the sun either comes out or is a sort of cloud forest. Amen to the outdoors. And as people grow on me, I'm liking them more and more. Here. Ah, reflections on ice. It can be cold here, but it sure is pretty. Amen to that. Appalachia, Virginia is probably the poorest town I have ever lived in or known. I say this with vague memories of Costa Rica, where poverty lurks around the corner of seasonal ecotourism. I am living here in a community of progressive minds who, for the most part, embrace conscious voluntary simplicity. However, down the mountain and a few miles down the road, Highlands, North Carolina, is where some of the richest people in Appalachia region reside. Riding through the other day, everything seems so elite and wealthy. Today I learned the family who owns Coca-Cola has a home in Highlands. Once, Appalachia, Virginia was a prosperous coal town. Coal brought great wealth to the people of Appalachia, many of whom were miners' daughters, husbands and sons. Coal was extracted through surface mining. Now coal is extracted through mountaintop removal and strip mining, which are more harmful to the earth and the people who live nearby. Highlands, North Carolina is a different sort of ghost town. In the summer months, when it became a tourism hub, the population jumps from 909 to 15,000 between the cold and summer season. It is interesting for me to compare Appalachia, Virginia, and Highlands, North Carolina. Both towns bother me, causing internal discord. I dwell on the discrepancies of wealth that are so evident when I am in both towns. I am very excited to be able to live in Highlands, so I can learn about how these Coca-Cola company owners live. My eyes are open and I'm thrilled to see what I can learn about the positive impacts I make. There are people in the region who drop out of high school and fall through the cracks of the system. There is a system for college track students, but none for vocational sorts. I am honored to live in the mountain where I can learn from my mentors. I am excited to question those who have fallen through the system. What happens to them? What would they do differently? What advice do they have? All of the world mentors me, even the trees or the ant crawling over my computer screen. My ears are built to listen. Sometimes I feel I'm not working hard enough, but I can write. I can write without wondering if it is good or if my voice is saying my voice within says it is good stuff. Sometimes I think I am not worthy, but my writing is worthy. Writing is one thing that makes the world a better place. I strongly believe. Hold on a second. An outdoors walk at the mountain, though it exhausts the physical body, is the medicine needed for deepening the consciousness and soul. And because this forest has not been cut for 100 years, it makes me think of a human retirement home of vibrant people who have had years working on their personal perfection. It has was one of the downhill walks at this point where I turned around and came back. I walked slowly downhill, taking pictures, aware that my feet were walking on slippery soil. Walking back up the hill, my knees and back began to hurt. I stopped to rest on a nice granite rock. Then, resuming my walk, I noticed that the uphill struggle was at least firmer on my footing. I can watch a million natural things looking out the window or sitting on a rocky cliff, but walking, my blood is fluid and my body is navigating through the world. Right now, I feel I've been allowed to absorb the peace of nature here in nature. It is important that I can feel this way now for my mental and physical health. It is a feeling called exhilaration in the deep connection with space. My window here faces north and the sun hits my eyes. My whole body is warm as I write this, with an emphasis on my blood, which became stagnant. I watched a squirrel and a bird out the window, feeling that this is how wildlife always feels. I often have sat in a city scene, counting down the days before I can exit those cubicles and walk into the light with nature. Now it seems less important that I am struggling for space or to feel content with the people I know in the mountain. More important to me is that my blood is pumping. I am alive and excited for life, and I am living in an ecosystem of old growth trees and wildlife that enjoys the benefits. When I came here, I looked at the view. When I was here for a while, my camera retracted to capture the image of my feet. Finally, I am looking at a bigger picture, and since the picture is so big, and all to allow each creature a moment to blow in the wind in its own way, I realize I don't have time on this earth for contemplating about others when I could use my time to feel my blood pump in the beauty of the day. God help me establish some personal space here. Help me find a way to avoid these rowdy folk who try to make me take from the beauty that is settled in these ancient woods. It was not I was not certain when I felt so wretched, but I did. Why I felt so wretched, but I did. I have been in this mountain 4 days now. My initial reaction was utter joy, exhilaration, and gratitude. But an organized why would an organization have an opportunity like this for a place for me? What wonderful thing have I done to find myself here with the gods up in the mountain? Last night I began to worry about the things. My mood pendulum began to swing in the direction of sadness. By today, I was fully aware of my concerns, my emotional vulnerability. It was rooted in my concern that my identity is not being properly represented here because of its new environments. The first impression I make is always a bit off or drastically different from my actual self. Two of the interns were bold and mature and led enough to reach out to me and ask if I needed support because they saw me withdrawing. They talked to me and it worked. I am starting to believe now that just through their open listening and genuine understanding, maybe, just maybe, I can learn to be more true to my actual self here than ever have I've been able. I can write even in the company of others. I can work and do it. Yes, I can. I can walk over this ice without falling. I can jump up high. I can fly. I can do this without getting hurt. I am not afraid. I will walk safely. I have a disability, but I am not disabled. When I come to a place, I talk too much, and my mind spins a facade of the unknown wool. Now I finally am here, finding a deeper meaning, a voice, constantly changing. I am sitting on meditation rock, writing this in my head, an attempt to describe the view of the valley. My eyes fill with tears. I am thankful for this life, this beautiful place that rolls here with the hills. Instantly I feel I have answer to my thanks. A feeling gushes through me. Nature is not saying you are welcome, but con mucho gusto, an expression from Spanish with much pleasure. This is the first time I have not needed a translator. How can I paint a landscape with words? My eyes, my gloved hands, my moist tongue, my damp nose, my ears find the beginning of an image. It is the dee-dee-dee that my mother and sister say is the song of the chickadee. It is the drip of the melting snow and the simultaneous soft drop of the falling snow. Exterior and interior scenes work backwards. We use sight more than other senses, unless we are blind, but our vision is the least connected to our core. Feeling, the neglected sense that is evolving out of us, rises up on occasion like this, not wanting to be left behind. And so it is not the long visual distance between me and the lake and the bottom, the tree and the winding road. Instead, it is the sound of the distance, impossible for sound to carry between the mountain top and top. The sound, top and bottom rather, the sound and the feeling of stillness in the air which ignites peace in the body's home. My tongue feels moist on arrival, but soon is dry and parched with the mountain air. I am always preparing to consume water. My nose smells the damp, crisp smell of snow on the ground, contrasting with the cold, liquid snow that falls on my forehead, crowning me or making me a unicorn. And finally, my eyes are clear of the tears of gratefulness, enough to notice the 400-year-old dwarf trees on my left and 500-year-old oak on the slope. My eyes avail themselves to dart over the valley, to cross the hills of this little scaly mountain. I breathe it in. This feeling of communion with nature. For a long time I feel her graciousness and her pleasure. Con mucho gusto, then arise and step away. So that is the conclusion of that section, and thank you for listening.